going on, Cubs fam? We are back for another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and my friends, I'm gonna take deep breaths during this video because I'm a little bit angry, but I'm in a good mood otherwise, so we're gonna deliver all of this with a happy tone. I'm gonna do my best to be happy about the current state of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And today we had a dev Q&A. And there were a lot of things discussed in the dev Q&A. It's still going on right now, but there's 3 big things that I want to talk about in this video. And to talk about these, I think it's best to give. In fact, let's do a live look. Let's do a live look, shall we, at Capital Games right now, okay?
Not in my house. No. Not today.
Capital Games right now is Dikembe Mutombo. And they're taking all of our suggestions and they're going, pow! Pow! Not in my house! Not in my game, ladies and gentlemen. We are not going to have live PvP. We are not going to have Sandbox mode, and we are not going to have a new raid in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Now, the silver lining in this, is in this very short, brief answer here about how they were working on a raid but decided not to work on it anymore, that they are working on something that they think will have a wider impact on the overall player base that we'll discuss in more detail next month's Road Ahead. That's actually good. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I'm not super pleased about some of this other stuff, but I'm anxiously awaiting the Road Ahead, which is going to be next month, they've said. Now, and that they plan on whatever it is impacting a wider percentage of the player base. That's actually good because a new raid likely would be for the top end echelon of Galaxy of Heroes. The Sith raid, when that first came out, the way that they did that, you know, a lot of people were able to enjoy that. A lot of people had to wait until they were strong enough. And so this could actually be a really good thing. But I want to unpack some of this other stuff first. All right, let's talk about live PvP first. Now, I have a much stronger opinion about live PvP now that I've been playing Disney Sorcerer's Arena. Now, if you play that game or not, I don't care if you do or if you don't. I spend hours every single day playing their live PvP game mode. It is something you can go in and you can endlessly play. It really blows my mind that we do not have something like that in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It does not even need to be live PvP. This is the most sensible way to do that. But for Galaxy of Heroes, I will spend an hour on stream on Twitch, which I'm streaming every day on Twitch, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You should come. The first hour is Galaxy of Heroes, and I have to stretch that hour out unless there's Grand Arena. Today, I had Grand Arena, and with Grand Arena and my Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes dailies and everything I had available for me to do in the game, it took me an hour and 20 minutes before I had nothing left to do. And then Disney Sorcerer's Arena, you could just play for as long as your heart desires because of the live PvP. Why are we not doing that? It does not make sense to me that you would have a game with a player base this committed and this active, even with the last several months that we've had, right? I mean, think about the last 4 or 5 months or so. It's been nothing but letdown after letdown after letdown for most of us. And we're still here, right? Because the game is just really good. Like, we're really committed to this game. We would relish the opportunity to just sit down and play Galaxy of Heroes that long, but you just can't do it. Anyway, so here's what he says. He says it could one day, which is a very lukewarm answer. That's not a good outlook. But it's not on the development roadmap at the time. I know there's a number of people on the team that have an interest in it. The number of times it's come up as a conversation over the years is too many to count. Well, I'm curious, Top Hat, because if it's come up that many times, maybe it's something that should happen. Why haven't we done it? It comes back to something I wrote in the Sandbox mode response, which we're going to unpack, and that I've said in a number of dev Q&As. It's all about trade-offs. So here's what we traded live PvP for 4 months of nothing and an event 5 people could play. In our earliest conversations, we had a feeling that the characters we were making at the time were not diverse enough to make a robust enough live PvP system. Okay, so they're saying that their meta is not diverse. So that's something you could try to fix. Anyway. And we need to still make guilds and raids. Over time, the question then transitioned to, are there enough places for everyone to play beyond hardcore PvPers? And we tended towards making more general features. We made GAC because the play patterns were similar enough to other modes, which is great, and I'll give you credit where credit is due. CG is the best thing you've ever done, probably, CG. I freaking love that game mode. If it weren't for that game mode, I wonder. In fact, tell me in the comments below, how many of you guys would still be playing this game if GAC wasn't a thing? I don't know if I would. I don't know if I could suffer through it. Because the play patterns are similar to other game modes in the game, we believed generalized well for PvPers, both PvPers and PvEers alike. This is a very long-winded way of saying I don't think the conversation about live PvP is dead by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a ways out if ever comes to Galaxy of Heroes. If it ever comes to Galaxy of Heroes. If it ever comes to Galaxy of Heroes. You know what, guys? I fail to understand this logic. I can't. I've got nothing else to say about this. It blows my mind that is an if statement. To me, live PvP should absolutely be a win statement. It's not something we're working on now. It's something we want to bring to the game. It's just a matter of when. But instead, it's a matter of if. How is this an if? How is live PvP an if in this game? I will not understand. Then let's talk about Sandbox. All right, I'm just going to read this. And remember, I'm in a good mood, so we're going to read this with a happy face. Could we see this coming to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes? Not at the moment. Boom! Roasted! 1, there's a tremendous amount of UI work that would go into Sandbox mode. When you start to think about all the different premonitions that players would want to try out, pick units, set ability levels, set mods, can create creatures, can event creatures be there, etc. It's very expensive. You have made $1 billion on this game! I'm sorry, I yelled that really loud. You need to do expensive things for this player base. I'm sorry. Now, some players have pointed out they'd just like to be able to battle their buddies in whatever their lineup is. Yes, that would be a feasible Sandbox mode, in my opinion. We don't need everything. We don't need sliders. We don't need all of the customization. We just want a spot where we can go play the game and test stuff out. You cannot test anything in this game right now, unless you can spend on a lot of crystal refreshes. Now, some players, that's a little bit more feasible, but still not free. Do we need to ask for stuff that's free? Are you giving us stuff that's free, Capital Games? Are you asking of us to be free? Is that what you're... This response is mind-numbing to me. That's a little bit more feasible, but still not free. And coupled with, there's nothing we've seen that indicates that this would be a high enough engagement feature. In the past, we released some events with unbounded play, and in general, we've seen players' participation fall off pretty quickly because those events are auto-able. There's nothing to test. We want a Sandbox mode so we can test things, so we can go fight the meta, so we can test Grand Arena defensive teams, so we can go against Grievous, Night Sisters, Newt, Padme, Darth Revan, Galactic Legends, something, not a wave of rebels that we can auto. That's why it drops off, because it's not meaningful. That is the most bullcrap way to say that people are not interested in a Sandbox mode. It comes up every time. Every Q&A it comes up. I said I was happy, but it just gets me heated that this is their logic. That is the worst way to gauge if we want a Sandbox mode. That is not a Sandbox mode. There are definitely hardcore players that we think would engage with this feature. There's no disputing that, but we believe it's a relatively small group. Everybody like this video if you want a sandbox mode. Like the video. Let's see how small the group is. Let's see how small the group is. So the calculation we make is, do we make a feature that is incredibly heavy development-wise with a lot of UI and flow interaction? Let me tell you how you can do this. Plagiarize. Take your own code. Grand Arena is amazing. Make it a seasonal event where on the off weeks for Grand Arena, you have a Grand Arena against yourself. Copy your code. I can now program my own teams. I can program my own teams. Or I can select a buddy to go against. Sandbox mode. Copy the UI. Or make it with the guild. Have a territory war where the guild gets to program a bunch of defenses. And everybody can go in and do that. Copy your UI. You do not need to develop a UI for this. Nobody's going to complain if it doesn't look pretty. We just want to be able to play your game. I just don't understand this. Do we make a feature that is incredibly heavy development-wise with a lot of UI and flow interaction taken away from things like more event types? What more event types? You've already taken away everything from us. For what? For 2 overpowered characters that 3 people were able to unlock? Or do we keep development focused on making things that affect all players? I would like you to do that. And if you are doing that now, kudos. With either an immediate thing to do that creates a long-term aspiration, in general, we tend towards the latter. Well, no shit. We know. And then we've got this. We've already talked about this. So they've confirmed that they're not going to do a raid, and they're working on something else. So, guys, I'm sorry. This video is very ranty. I despise the way that they respond to these questions. This bothers me a lot. I've got nothing else to say.